Welcome to the Monday Mile edition of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show, your quick hit of inspiration and practical advice to kickstart your week strong. Each Monday, I'll be joined by one of our Silver Edge coaches as we tackle one specific topic you might be struggling with, whether that's nutrition, fitness, mindset, or lifestyle, and we'll break it down into clear, simple, actionable tips you can start using today. And here's the best part, you can knock out this episode on your morning walk. Just lace up those sneakers, hit the pavement, and let us coach you through the first mile of the week. Okay, let's get moving. Russell, welcome back to the Monday Mile edition of the Over 50 Health and Wellness podcast. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna have a little fun today. I want to talk about the carnivore diet, what it is, why it's so popular, because it does seem like it's out there, man. And basically, let's answer the question, should you do it? So let's start here. Pretty obvious, I think, but what the heck is the carnivore diet?
Something most men love is eating all meat.
Eating all meat. Yeah, zero plant food, basically. And
yeah, the way they make it sexy is they promote it. Bacon and butter and steaks, and who wouldn't want that, right?
Right. Yeah.
But
so
I guess until you get the bill.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. So yeah, carnivore diet's exactly what it sounds like. It's all animal products. It's, the biggest proponents are big on, of course, not processed animal. So it's not bologna. It's not hot dogs. It's like Russell said, it's steaks, it's ground beef, it's ribs, it's organ meat, in fact. And like you said, a lot of carnivores would also potentially bring in some dairy, so animal-based products, so that, grass-fed butter or potentially even some milk. But at its core, it's all meat. It's a meat-only diet.
Aren't they trying to add fruits to it too?
There are some advocates out there now that are adding fruit. Yeah. Well, look, dude, a meat-only diet, as much as that appeals to me, I don't know. Can I eat steaks three times a day, every day for the rest of my life? Maybe. But
you've never tried it?
I have not. I have threatened several times to do a 30-day carnivore experiment / challenge. I have not. How about you?
I was thinking about the same, but again, let's just put this for reference. I went out to eat yesterday with my girlfriend, and she knows I'm a big protein guy. So, of course, the meals we ordered, she's giving me extra protein because she notices just going out to eat, you're not getting enough. Right. And then I know she's a sweets person. So, of course, I had to take her to the sweets after. But, it's like, could you imagine just going out to eat? Like, you'd have to order 3 or 4 different plates of just meat just to get meat, to, just thinking about your calorie load and trying to get that up there. That would be really difficult.
Correct. So just for frame of reference, my maintenance calories right now are about 3,200 calories. So if I eat 3,200 calories a day, I don't gain or lose any weight. So that's a lot of food, folks. That would be a lot of meat. So one of the things I think against carnivore and why it might be so daunting to a lot of people is just because it is so restrictive. I absolutely love fruit. So there are foods that I would love to have in there. And I enjoy the occasional scoop of ice cream, things like that. Yeah. So it might be tough to go full carnivore, but I'm not going to lie, there is some appeal to it. Now, I think, because carnivore's having a moment, right? I think 10 years ago, nobody really seriously thought or talked about a carnivore diet. But then some big social media people, Paul Saladino, who I think is no longer carnivore, but he advocated for it. Who was the guy? I can't remember his name. One of the big social media influencer guys. His daughter was quote unquote cured from a lifetime of debilitating autoimmune issues by going all carnivore. And so it has these claims, these health claims attached to it. And like you said, I think it's attractive more to men than women, although, look, there are plenty of carnivore ladies out there in the social media platforms as well, eating all meat. More power to them, I guess. But it does seem to be very popular. And I think one of the things that makes it popular is a couple of things. One is it's got this call back to this ancestral type of living and eating and ancestral health that appeals to a lot of us in this day and age when everything is so modern and technologically advanced. And let's face it, most of our foods are frankenfoods. I read somewhere that the average American diet is now made up of over 70% of processed and ultra-processed foods. So I think that's one of the things that's given it some legs. The other thing is we love simplicity. So when you think about things like intermittent fasting, eat whatever you want, but eat between 12 and 6. That's your only rule. Or keto, eat whatever you want, just can't have any carbs. Carnivore, eat whatever you want as long as it's meat, So I think we're drawn to that. And I know we had Dr. Sean Baker on this podcast a while ago. And I'll tell you this, Russell, for the week or so after I got done interviewing him, I went around just telling my wife, that's it. I'm going carnivore. I'm all carnivore. I'm on the wagon. I'm doing this. Now, I didn't, but like you, I'm a meat lover, and I'm not that far away from subscribing to that romantic notion of eating all meat being healthy for me. If I didn't have to eat another vegetable as long as I lived, I think I could deal with that. How about you?
Yeah, you're not a vegetable guy. No, I enjoy
really, no.
I enjoy certain vegetables, so I'm not opposed to that. The fruit would get me. I would lose it on the fruit, especially in the summer. Like
I could be a fruit and meat guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I could do that. I could do fruit and meat. Carbs, of course, all the greatness is in carbs, right? With
Sure.
the rice.
Yeah. Life without carbs would be kind of sad. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be kind of hard.
Yeah.
But again, I have a friend who's been doing it for years, and he's fine. But I've talked to him about the restaurant thing, and he said, yeah, that's where it gets. He said either he has to pregame it before, so he eat some meat before and go to the restaurant and eat and more meat, because then I could get or double or triple the order of meat, and it's really pricey then. That's where he's like, that's the downfall of it, is when you go out to eat. But and we live in California, so we can get away with some things, Can't imagine in certain areas where they don't have the abundance of restaurants and things that, it's mostly fast food or something like that. That would be difficult. Yeah. I think it's all, you have to figure out your lifestyle too. A, you could afford that, and B, if it's accessible for you.
Right.
But I do know people use it to figure out food allergies. They start off with all meat and then slowly add some foods to it to see what they're intolerant to, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the biggest use case. If somebody were to ask me, should I do carnivore? I'd say, do you have crippling autoimmune issues? Do you have, gut issues that you just can't resolve? Because let's face it, this is the ultimate elimination diet. I'm eliminating because the big triggers typically are going to be things like soy and wheat and dairy, and we're taking all those out. We're just eating meat. And if we're doing we're very intentional about, we're not doing any processed meat. We're doing all whole meat, all organ meat, etc. That is a compelling, again, elimination diet. And if something like wheat or dairy or soy or sugar or one of the millions of chemicals that we're putting into processed foods these days is that trigger, we've now eliminated that. So it wouldn't be any wonder that you would go on a carnivore diet, all of a sudden a month later feel miraculously better, and then say to yourself, into the world, holy moly, carnivore is the best thing ever. We should all do that. So I think we need to be careful there. But like you said, if we did carnivore for a 30, 60-day period as a test to see, hey, do I run better? Do I feel better? And then slowly add one food group in at a time. Maybe I start by adding some fruits and vegetables. Okay, am I okay there? Yep. Okay, and then me bring in some dairy foods. Yep. Okay, am I there? Let me bring in some wheat. Whoops, found it. Right. So yeah. I think that is a compelling case. And when I interviewed Dr. Sean Baker, he said that basically the same thing, right? Because I had all the questions that everybody asked him, but I couldn't not ask him. I know he goes on a lot of podcasts and he gets asked all the time, what about vegetables and phytonutrients and what about fiber? And he had, if you guys want, I will link that episode into the show notes here. You can go back and listen to that if you haven't already. But he had really compelling answers to all of this. He has really thought this out. The other thing I would have asked him is, what about like performance on an all meat diet? This dude is a beast. He's big, hulking, strong dude. He's a former strongman competitive athlete in his 50s, and he's still a big, hulking, strong guy. Now that's not a stretch, right? If I told you this dude's a carnivore and I said he's also just this big, giant, ripped, jacked dude, you'd probably be like, okay, I can see that. But you know what else? He's got an amazing vertical jump at 50 something. He's breaking world records on the Concept 2 rowing machine, which again, going back to last week, we were talking about cardio. He's a cardio monster. This guy is just a freak. I mean, he is in his mid 50s, and he is very athletic. He's very strong. And so it's working for him. But that doesn't mean it would work for everybody in that same way.
Do you think it's like, so I knew somebody probably 15 years ago, and the guy ate like trash. I mean, McDonald's and Burger King and all that. And I've never seen him eat a whole meal regardless. But the guy was ripped. And maybe Dr. Sean Baker's an anomaly, where
correct.
Right? I think that's where we get bad information. We look on, what was it, Metcalf he was a football player, and he says he eats at 5 p.m. and he eats like bags of Skittles and candy, and then has one meal. Like if you or I did that, we would look like, oh my God, we'd look horrible.
Well, the things
even if we trained like a
something,
football player.
the things that a 20-something-year-old professional athlete can get away with, and the things that us as normal 50, 60-year-olds can get away with are completely different. But that is crazy, and you bring up a good point. Yes, and that's why I think a lot of these more extreme diets, whether it's raw food, veganism, or carnivore, or just anything that's one meal a day, somebody does that. And it works for them. And now that could be for a whole host of reasons. Again, maybe it's an elimination thing. Maybe it's a genetic thing. But what happens is they then go out and say, this is the best diet. This is the way you should eat. Oh my God, I found this miracle diet. Everybody should do it. And that's probably not true. We're all bio individuals. And to your point, for me, I can't imagine high performance, at least from an athletic standpoint, without some carbs in my body. My body runs well with glucose. It's most of our body's preferred energy source. There are fat adapted athletes, people like, I guess Sean Baker would be a good example, that run just fine without any carbs at all. But I can't imagine it. Now, that being said, I say I can't imagine it, but one of these days, Russell, since I now know that you've been toying around with carnivore, I've honestly been thinking about it since that Sean Baker interview, and that was like a year and a half ago. One of these days, me and you're gonna have to commit. Maybe we'll do this together, and we'll do a 30-day carnivore challenge. We'll see if you and I can go 30 days just doing carnivore, and then kind of report back how we feel. You up for that?
Yeah, I'm definitely up for that. I'm already stressing about it, thinking about how I navigate this in the outside my house.
Yeah, the social piece of that. Yeah.
The social piece of that, right?
Yeah.
I gotta think, oh my God, I hope there's no big birthdays or
Guess you're not having any cake. Yeah.
You're not having any cake.
Right.
God, I just had this ice cream over the weekend. It was coconut almond joy. And I was saying to myself, Kevin, if it was my girlfriend needed help outside and I had to grab the coconut almond joy, I would honestly have to sit there and go, oh, I don't know which one to go to first.
Yeah,
it was that good of an ice cream.
Wow. Yeah. For me, on the farm here, I've got like 20 or 30 blueberry bushes. I got tons of blueberry bushes here, and they are going off right now. They just started here in the last few days. So I've got maybe another 2-3 weeks of just a barrage of blueberries. I love blueberries. So we'll wait until blueberry season's over. Go ahead and finish up that almond joy ice cream.
Day.
Yeah, I have berries. I have berries almost every day. Yeah, so blueberries, blackberries, mostly blueberries. When they're not in season, I buy them frozen in bulk. So I've always got them. But yeah, I'll give that up for a month for a carnivore challenge. My wife's gonna freak out, but
you know what we're gonna have to do too is like come up with some sort of tracking sheet, like how we feel, and you know, like each, just to kind of give a reference. Like I'm sure the first 2 days are gonna be miserable. Like
I would guess, because you're gonna go into ketosis.
Yeah.
Right. There's the keto flu. There's a very common thing when people go rapidly and drastically into ketosis, which is what we'll do, I imagine. Or I don't know, maybe we give ourselves a little week ramp where we start toning down the carbs and ramping up the meat, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so we will have that. Now, I wear an Oura ring, so I've got that metric, so I can track, sleep and other things. I also have a Hume body pod, so it'll be interesting to see what happens, body composition wise. So that's going to measure body fat and muscle mass, things like that. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. And then, of course, how do I feel in the gym? How do I feel when I'm playing pickleball? How do I feel when I'm out running around? All right, brother. Well, we'll have to figure out. Like I said, I'm going to wait until blueberry season's over, but maybe after that, we just pick a time and we just say, all right, 30 days, go.
All right, let's do it.
All right, done. All right. We've talked ourselves into it. That's what we get for coming on a podcast and talk about carnivore diet.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that's it. What we've got for you this week. Anybody out there who has experience with the carnivore diet or you have strong opinions about the carnivore diet, we'd love to hear from you. Check out our free Facebook group. It's called the Over 50 Lean Body Blueprint. Just put that into the Facebook search bar and our group will come up. It's free to join. Just got to answer a couple questions. And just side note, please do answer the questions and check the little box that says I agree to terms. If not, I'm not going to let you in there. I'm going to kick you out. So please just answer 3 very simple questions and a checkbox. But get in there. Let us know what you think. If you've got some experience there, we'd love to hear from you. But until next week, stay strong. Okay, folks, that is your Monday Mile for this week. Quick, simple, and packed with power. If you found this helpful, be sure to share it with a friend who's walking their own path to better health. And hey, don't forget to tune in this Wednesday for our full-length episode of the Over 50 Health and Wellness Show. Until then, keep walking, stay consistent, and as always, stay strong.